The sky over Ohio turned black before the sirens even had time to wail. In the city of Xenia, the air went still, heavy and unnatural, the kind of stillness that makes people step outside in unease. Then, without warning, the horizon split open. A massive funnel cloud twisted downward, a mile-wide column of rotating fury grinding toward the city. In seconds, the roar grew deafening, a sound described by survivors as 100 freight trains bearing down at once. The tornado touched down and surged forward, flattening homes and ripping entire neighborhoods apart. People scrambled for basements, clutched at children, dove under furniture as walls cracked and roofs lifted away. Windows shattered, cars were flipped through the air like toys, and in less than 10 minutes, Xenia became a city in ruins. The date was April 3, 1974. A day that meteorologists and residents across the Midwest would never forget. It was the start of what would be called the Super Outbreak, the largest tornado outbreak in recorded history at that time. Over the course of 2 days, 148 confirmed tornadoes tore through 13 states, killing 315 people and injuring thousands. Entire towns were wiped off the map, and nowhere was the devastation worse than in Xenia, Ohio, a community of about 27,000 people east of Dayton. The day began with storm warnings, but no one in Xenia expected what was coming. The National Weather Service had issued tornado watches across the region, but forecasting technology in 1974 was far less advanced than it is today. Radar signatures hinted at supercells, but without Doppler radar or real-time storm tracking, the danger was recognized too late for specific warnings. By late afternoon, the atmosphere was primed for disaster. Warm, moist air surged north from the Gulf of Mexico, colliding with cold, dry air from Canada. Wind shear twisted the currents into violent spirals. The perfect breeding ground for supercells spread across the Ohio Valley. At 4:30 p.m., a powerful F5 tornado descended near Xenia. Classified as the most severe rating on the Fujita scale, an F5 carries winds over 250 miles per hour, capable of sweeping entire structures from their foundations. The funnel moved directly into the heart of the city. Within moments, destruction was absolute. The first neighborhoods hit were leveled block by block, frame houses exploding into splinters, brick homes reduced to piles of rubble. Survivors later recalled being lifted into the air and hurled across yards, emerging alive only by chance. Others were crushed beneath collapsed walls. The twister plowed through downtown, scattering businesses and tearing apart schools. Xenia High School took a direct hit. Buses were overturned in the lot, classrooms reduced to twisted steel and shattered brick. Churches, fire stations, and stores vanished in seconds. As the tornado carved its path, communication lines collapsed. Power was lost, telephone poles snapped, and emergency radios failed. Residents stumbled through the wreckage in shock. Entire families crawled out from piles of debris to find their neighborhoods unrecognizable. Cars were overturned in driveways, splintered wood was driven like spears into the ground, and trees were stripped bare, their bark ripped off by the ferocity of the wind. In some places, the destruction was so complete that streets could no longer be identified. By the time the funnel lifted and moved on, nearly half of Xenia had been destroyed. 32 people were dead, more than 1,000 were injured, and thousands were left homeless. The tornado's path cut through the center of the city like a scar, stretching 32 miles long and half a mile wide. The devastation shocked even veteran storm researchers. It was, at the time, the deadliest single tornado of the outbreak. Emergency response was immediate but overwhelmed. Local police and firefighters were among the victims, their stations destroyed along with much of their equipment. Survivors banded together to search the ruins for trapped neighbors. Churches and schools that survived became makeshift shelters. National Guard units were called in to control looting and secure the area, while Red Cross teams set up relief stations. The injured were rushed to surrounding hospitals, many in private cars because ambulances were buried or destroyed. Photographs from the hours after the storm show men and women wandering streets lined with nothing but rubble, dazed children clutching stuffed animals pulled from debris, rescue workers carrying stretchers over broken timbers. President Richard Nixon declared Xenia a federal disaster area within 24 hours, bringing in federal aid and relief funds. But for residents, the immediate task was survival. Rebuilding was daunting. Insurance claims poured in, yet many residents had no coverage. Families were forced to relocate while debris was cleared. Schools were held in temporary buildings, churches gathered under tents, and downtown businesses tried to operate out of trailers. The emotional toll was just as great. Survivors spoke of constant nightmares, the roar of the tornado replaying in their minds. Children feared every thunderstorm. Parents lived with the guilt of lost loved ones. For weeks, the city smelled of wet wood, gas leaks, and smoke from the piles of debris burned at the edges of town. Xenia became a case study for meteorologists and emergency planners. The storm highlighted the shortcomings of the forecasting system at the time. Without Doppler radar, meteorologists could not detect rotation inside thunderstorms with precision. Warnings often came only minutes before impact. The Xenia tornado helped drive the development of modern radar systems and improvements in public alert methods, laying groundwork for the technology now used to track supercells in real time. The disaster also became etched in public memory because of the images captured in its aftermath. News crews arrived quickly, broadcasting footage of entire neighborhoods flattened to the horizon. One photograph, showing a pickup truck wrapped around a tree like a toy, became a symbol of the storm's violence. Another showed the collapsed remains of Xenia High School, a stark reminder that no building, however solid, was safe from an F5. These images appeared in newspapers nationwide, and Xenia became synonymous with tornado disaster. Even decades later, the scars of the storm are remembered in Xenia. Survivors pass down their stories, recalling where they were when the funnel descended, who they lost, and how they rebuilt. Annual commemorations honor the victims and recognize the resilience of those who stayed to rebuild their city. New homes, schools, and businesses stand where rubble once lay, but the memory of April 3, 1974, lingers like the echo of that freight train roar across the plains of Ohio. The Xenia tornado was only one storm in the 1974 super outbreak, but it became the deadliest of them all, a symbol of nature's raw and unpredictable power. In less than 10 minutes, a thriving city was torn apart, its people forced to pick through the ruins and start again. It stands as a reminder that even in the modern age, with all our advances, the line between security and catastrophe can vanish in the time it takes for a funnel cloud to descend from a darkening sky. Thank you for listening to Road to Ruins. Subscribe for more true stories where systems fail and people pay the price.